Hi, this is Anne the Raven on location at the Troubadour, the world famous Troubadour. And we're talking to Skunk. I don't really know what to call you.
Skunk is fine. It's my call sign.
Can you tell me why you've ended up with a name called Skunk?
Everybody's got a call sign that I work with in my day job.
Yeah, well, I've got one too. That's why they call me Anne the Raven. You know, it's not
There
really
you go.
There you
That's
go.
the call sign.
We all got them.
I love
Yes.
it.
Yes, I'm excited about. Can you tell me a little bit about your new CD?
Well, it's a labor of love. It's something myself and my partner, CJ Vanston, have been doing for like 30 years almost.
Uh-huh.
We've just been, because we're both, busy, knock on wood, we just never really found a whole lot of time, so we take little bits and pieces. And I guess it's kind of like, you put your pennies in a jar, and after a while, the jar fills up, you roll up the pennies, take them into the bank, and you start all over again. So we figured jar was full, and let's do an album.
Well, it's called Speed of Heat.
Right.
Why?
Well, CJ is a big aviation buff.
Uh-huh.
And, of course, my day job, I work with things that go fast and blow up and stuff like
Oh,
that.
I read about that.
So I know a lot about and spend a lot of time with fast things. So the speed of heat is the thermodynamic phenomenon that happens when a body moves through the atmosphere and approaches the speed of sound, Mach 1. And so we just used that as the working title, and then when we handed the record in, the president of the record company called and said, "Wow, I love this Speed of Heat." I said, "Yeah." He said, "That's the album title, right?" I said, "Sure, why not?" And I said, "Do you know what it is?" He said, "No, I don't care. I love the Speed of Heat. I love the name." So that's kind of how it happened.
I love it too. Tell us a little bit about the two bands the two famous, well, it's really three famous bands you worked with. Like, how long were you with?
Well, you mean Ultimate Spinach or the Holy Modal Rounders or Buzzy Linhart?
I knew he was going to get me on that.
Or Linda Ronstadt or...
Well, I was mostly thinking about like Steely Dan, the
okay.
Doobie Brothers.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's hard. I mean, when I tell you about them, I was very lucky to be able to play with both bands. Steely Dan was a great band. We kind of started out. We didn't really know what we were doing. But we were very lucky, and people seemed to like us. And then we used to open for the Doobie Brothers a lot. Finally, the Doobie Brothers said, "Well, would you come play with us?" I said, "Sure." So,
I noticed that you were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame there.
they were very
with
kind
the
to do
Doobie
that.
Brothers.
That was very
That
nice.
was fantastic.
That was nice.
Guys, I have to admit, I just got to tell you, I'm in love with Michael McDonald.
Well, you should be.
He's
an incredible
fantastic.
musician,
Tell
incredible
me about him. Tell me about him. I see that he's on one of your.
Yeah, well, we've been friends. I brought him into the Doobie Brothers.
Uh-huh.
And he was also singing and playing keyboards with us in Steely Dan when we were on tour. So we become friends, and it's just when one of the members of the Doobies was having some serious health problems, we just, I called him up on the phone and said, "You're in the Doobie Brothers." I said, "Okay."
I noticed on one of your singles here that you're singing. This is kind of unusual, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a background singer, I guess, but I never consider myself a lead singer. So when we did this version of My Old School, I did a scratch vocal because I sent it to Steve Tyler, because Steve and I had talked about it, and he said, "Well, why aren't you singing?" Because I'm not a singer, Steve. He said, "Well, yeah, you should try to do it." I said, "Are you bullshitting me?" And he said, "No, I'm serious. I really think you ought to do this. You ought to sing the song." So I said, "Well, he knows more about this stuff than I do. So, okay." I took a shot.
So it was a song that you had previously done with.
I used to sing it live, so I had a little bit of DNA there. Yeah.
And you changed it quite a bit, or?
Well, I'd say that we injected a tremendous amount of energy into the song.
One of the questions that I was told to ask you about the famous guitar, the Jimi Hendrix guitar.
Okay.
Did you have anything to do with giving that to him, or did you not?
Well, he had a lot of guitars, and I think, it's like, I don't know if when you were a little girl you played a game called Telephone.
Yeah.
Right. So by the time this story gets to wherever the heck it is, I bought him his first guitar, and Yeah. So what happened was I was working at a music store in New York City. Gentleman came in, Jimmy James. He just was playing with Joey D and the Starlighters down the street, and he had this beat-up guitar, and he said, I'd like to trade it in for something. And because I was a guitar builder and a guitar customized guy, I had done a right-handed guitar set up left-handed for a client who never came in and picked it up. So I just traded it to him, and I got docked like 3 weeks' pay for the difference in what they were. And we became friends, and that's kind of how it happened. It certainly wasn't his first guitar. It was a very nice guitar, there's no doubt about it. I spent a lot of time working on it.
You know, out of all the interviews that you have, is it anything you'd like to say that no one ever asked you?
Probably the question that always is in the forefront is, what makes you do what you do? And what makes me do what I do is just, and not the trite answer, the love of music, but because the mathematics of music, the connection in terms of physics, the connection to the universe and the connection to everything around us, to me, that fascinates me. It's like a portal. It's like you open up a door and all of a sudden you're doing the same thing that stars and galaxies do. It's just, to me, that doesn't get any better than that.
Oh, I'm in love with you.
Oh, my, thank you, my dear. I appreciate that.
I love the way you speak about music. I feel what you feel when you speak about music.
Well, music does things that people, they don't really understand. Music, I'm not going to give you a course in theoretical physics, but we're going to talk about what holds the matter together in the universe. Vibration and frequency. Electromagnetism, gravity, there's forces, but it's all based on frequency. So everything in the universe is affected by a different set of frequencies. My colleague, Dr. Charles Towns, the guy that invented the laser, he got the Nobel Prize for it. We used to work together up at Lawrence Livermore. And he said it's all a series of coherent oscillations. When you put a number of vibrations together, you get something special. You get a human spirit. You get a song. So when these vibrations, which are coherent in their expression and in their existence, when you hear them, it stimulates a certain cocktail of neurotransmitters in your brain, whether it's serotonin, oxytocin, vasopressin, adrenaline. The combination is what makes your emotions happen. So if you got a little too much serotonin and a little less adrenaline, makes you kind of happy. If you get a little too much vasopressin and way too much adrenaline, sometimes you can get angry or frightened. So music does that. I'll give you a perfect example. When there's a chord, a 3-note chord called the Devil's Interval. It's basically the dominant, the flat 5, the flat 5th of the scale, and the dominant. Catholic Church outlawed that. They call that the Devil's Interval because it's all odd harmonics. There's no even harmonics in it. And what that does is it makes you secrete a cocktail of neurotransmitters that frightens you. So when Bach's Toccata and Fugue was first performed in a church, they burned the church to the ground because he used the Devil's Interval and scared the crap out of everybody. So, of course, Igor Stravinsky says, oh, yeah, I'm going to do that. So he wrote The Rite of Spring. They looted 8 blocks of downtown Paris after that song was. The effect of this, the effect of music is so strong. I mean, I don't think probably every commercial that you hear on television has music. Why? Because it sets the mood. Next time you go to a movie, a good movie that's well scored, listen to the music 5 seconds before the scene changes. You probably wouldn't even notice it unless you listen to it. It's setting you up for the next scene.
What famous troubadour story do you know or do you have for here? I mean, how many times have you performed here?
Oh, an awful lot of times with a number of different bands. But I think what really makes me remember this place was we had a band called Billy and the Beaters. And we said, okay, we got to find a place that we can play where nobody will show up. So we'll do it on Monday night at midnight. That way we know nobody will show up. We can get as hammered as we want and just have a great time. Unfortunately, 6 months later, we had a #1 record.
Oh.
So, oh well, can't win them all. But we played here for 6 months on Monday nights, just having a ball, having a great time. And the Troubadour has always been very kind to me. They've been very helpful. They've been very, very, very nice to me because I've played here with everybody from Linda Ronstadt to Julian Lennon to you name it. So I like this place.
I do too. I do want to ask you one more question. The band that you're using tonight, is this a studio band or is it a band that you're going to be using on your tour? Or?
This is it. Yeah, these guys are frightening musicians. C.J. Vanston, my music partner, produced Toto, Joe Cocker, great engineer, great producer, killer keyboard player. The bass player, Hank Horton, is not only a ferocious singer and bass player, but he plays in the Detroit Symphony. So he's a real player.
Oh, wow.
And Mark Damian, the drummer, is just one of the most frightening drummers I've ever heard. Because I toured for a while with James Brown. So I know Mousy Thompson, and I mean, I'm a spoiled. Guys like Zigaboo and Mousy Thompson, those guys are the cats. This guy, amazing drummer. Just all comes together. So I'm a happy boy.
I'm looking forward to it.
Well, thank you.
And thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
This is Ann the Raven reporting live on location at the Troubadour with Skunk.